I couldn't figure out if this guy was doing drug deals, if he was like going to whorehouses, both. What's going on? Who are these guys? Why are they pulling up to me? And this car pulls up like right up to my bumper, right behind me. He's running towards me, and I suddenly notice he's not alone. There are guys running after him. Now this guy takes the gun out and he's pointing it at us, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror and I'm waiting for a gunshot, and I hear like clap, clap, clap.
There is an unwritten code in Brooklyn. You don't tell anyone else's stories, and you don't talk about anyone else's business. Every story I tell is mine. Locations, names, and specific details have all been changed to honor that code. This is Brooklyn Files, the real stories.
Crime in Brooklyn and New York City overall was notoriously incredibly bad in the early 1990s. It started at around maybe 1990 or so. There was just a lot of crime. It was around the crack epidemic, and it was surging at the time, and that of course caused other crimes to sort of surge. And so you had the murder rates were through the roof, and rape and robbery and felony assault, everything you could imagine, burglary, grand larceny, all record numbers. And anytime you saw anybody high around that time, you just assumed they were a crackhead. It was a very popular term. It was the thing to say, like, oh, that guy's a crackhead. Oh, you're a crackhead. It just had this incredible stigma attached to it, so nobody wanted to be known as a crackhead. So me and my friends, we stayed far away from that. But there was a lot of crime around that time. There couldn't have been a worse time for me to decide that I was gonna get a job as a cab driver in Brooklyn. And it was that year, 1990, I was about 20, 21. Searched the job ads, and I found this cab driving job in the ads, and I called the guy, and I told him that my car had just broken down, that I didn't have a car, but if you have a car I could drive, I'd love to drive for your company. I think the guy hired me on the spot. I came down and he said, you'll drive our car. You know, like they had the house car, but then they had other individual drivers that drove their own cars. Because I drove the house car, I got a lot of preference in that I got all the calls, and so I was getting all the business, and I was pretty busy all night. So my shift started at midnight. One of the things that I always did on every shift was I always had to do multiple pickups at the no-tell motel. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there was that motel that was notorious in our area for being like the cheaters motel. It had the worst reputation for being the most slimy hotel ever. I used to wait in the lobby for my fare and take them home, and oftentimes it was women that were obviously cheating. They had a wedding ring on, but they'd come out of the room all, hair messed up, and they'd light up a cigarette and get in the back seat and make nervous small talk, hoping like I didn't know their husband or something. Or it would be like a dude going back to his wife and so forth. It was a weird job. I wouldn't call it fun, but it was definitely exciting, and no two nights were the same. You never knew what was gonna happen. There was always a surprise. Well, there was this one guy who was kind of notorious in our neighborhood. He was an older guy. I was about 20. This guy must have been about 40. Apparently, he'd owned a few businesses in the neighborhood. So he was kind of known for being kind of a high roller type of dude, But, and I guess he didn't really want to drive or whatever. So I would pretty much drive this guy to all kinds of weird calls. Like every time I picked up this dude, I would take him to like another strange place, and one weirder than the next, but always like seedy neighborhoods. And I couldn't figure out if this guy was doing drug deals, if he was like going to whorehouses, both. I just couldn't tell. If he was doing a drug deal, didn't know. What was cool about this guy's calls was it was always a round trip. And you always wanted to get the round trips when you drove cabs, especially at this place, because I was, again, driving the house cab. I would get all of the round trips, and the round trips were good because you would get in there and back, and then they would often tip you good. And this guy was a good tipper too. So, well, one night, he and I get in the car, and I'm told by my boss, that I'm taking this guy to the Bronx. And I'm like, whoa, this is a cool round trip. So he gets in my car, we start heading to the Bronx. Brooklyn and the Bronx are like two different worlds. I mean, they're right next to each other, but it's like going into another country, you know what I'm saying? And we get to this like really seedy neighborhood. Now, mind you, I'm not just driving nights, I'm driving overnight. So it's probably about 12:30 at night. I'm taking this guy on a seedy run to a seedy building in a seedy neighborhood, and it's creepy. So this guy gets out of the car, he walks across to the building. I don't know what he's doing there. I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm just waiting. It's quiet. I'm scared and worried about like this neighborhood, and I'm thinking like, this is not a good place. And mind you, I got money on me, and this is before cash apps and smartphones. I mean, I probably had a wad of cash in my pocket, and the back window is open. And I have no idea why this guy left the back window open, but this was not the neighborhood that you wanted to have the window open. And just as I'm like ready to reach around and try to close the back window that this guy, my fare, left open, I see a car pulling up behind me, and my heart starts racing, and I'm like, what's going on? Who are these guys? Why are they pulling up to me? And this car pulls up like right up to my bumper, right behind me, and I'm thinking, this ain't good. And all of a sudden, these two guys get out of the car, and they start walking towards my car, and the guy says, do you have cash on you? And I don't know why he was asking me this, but I was terrified. He goes, do you have cash on you? I don't want to be in this neighborhood. I don't know what this guy's doing upstairs. I don't know how long he's going to be. But I know this is not the right place to be with a big wad of cash in my pocket. And just as I'm thinking, man, this guy left the back window open, I better go close that thing. Just as I'm thinking that, and I'm starting to like reach around, maybe to start closing the window, I notice a car pull up behind me, pulls up to my bumper, and all of a sudden the doors open up, these guys get out, and this dude on my like driver's side starts yelling, do you have cash on you? And I didn't answer, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, he pulls out a badge. He's a cop, he's an NYPD undercover detective. He pulls his badge out and he starts screaming at me. Now I see his partner, he's sitting there on the sidewalk. It's a black guy on the right side. They're both looking in my car and they got badges. This guy goes off on me and he goes, what the are you doing in this neighborhood? He goes, do you have money on you? You have cash on you? He goes, do you know what you're doing? He goes, do you where you are? He goes, you're in the South Bronx. He goes, you understand in this neighborhood, they'll blow your head off just because you're here, just because you're driving through, and they'll just take your money. He goes, they won't talk to you, they won't say a word, they'll just blow your head off. He goes, do you understand that? I go, yeah, man, I'm sure, man, but like, you know, what can I do? This is my job. I was supposed to take this guy here, and now he's upstairs. He goes, I want you, turn that car on, get out of here now, don't look back. He goes, make a U-turn right now, don't waste any time. He goes, and I'm gonna follow you and make sure you leave. And I said, oh man, so I'm thinking like, I gotta leave this guy upstairs. So I don't know what to do at this point, but I'm just listening to this guy because I don't wanna like, you know, get arrested or whatever. I'm not sure what this guy's gonna do if I don't listen. So I start the car, start moving, I make a U-turn, him and his partner get back in their car, it's an unmarked car, and all of a sudden I hear him say, make a U-turn now, and I'm gonna follow you. I start driving out on the street that I drove in on, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's screwed, like I'm just gonna leave him here, but I don't know what to do. Like, am I gonna get in trouble, you know, for leaving him here? I mean, he's kind of a big shot in the neighborhood. He follows me for like 3 or 4 blocks, whatever, and I'm looking in my rear view mirror just for him to stop following me so I can come up with a game plan, like what should I do? He's already turned around, he already leaves, he's out of sight, I don't see the cop anymore. So I decide to just pull over and sit in this parking spot, and I'm like, let me just give it like 10 minutes and then I'll just like cruise by. Hopefully I won't see this cop again. So I wait a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and then I decide to turn the car back on. I make a U-turn and I start going back now to that area that I just came back from. And now I'm like thinking about what the cop told me. I'm thinking like he's talking about like getting your head blown off for no reason, and I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking like he's not exaggerating, I'm sure he's right. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, what if I see this cop again? He's probably gonna flip his again. And I'm like, I don't know, I hope I don't see this guy again. So I drive past the point that I had originally been sitting, which is diagonal from the building that this guy goes into, and then, he just disappeared into earlier. And I go about maybe halfway up that block, and I'm like, at least I'll just look out for him, and when I see him walking out of the building, I can start my car, turn my lights on, make a U-turn, and pick him up. So that's my plan. I'm just waiting and waiting. Maybe another 10 minutes go by. I don't see the cops anymore. Suddenly, this guy appears at the door of this apartment building. I start to see his silhouette appear. There's only one problem. He's not walking towards me. He's running. The door of the apartment building flies open. It goes like, swings open. This guy's running now. I could hear his shoes like clacking on the ground, running towards me now. I'm like diagonal intersection, but I'm about 3/4 of the block, whatever, up the street. He's running towards me, and I suddenly notice he's not alone. There are guys running after him. And I'm soon about to figure out why this guy left the back window open. He's running towards my car and he's screaming and he's got his arms out and he's saying, "Wait, start the car, wait!" And he's just yelling and running towards me. And he's getting closer, and so are the guys behind him. Is running towards the car, his arms extended. He's like, "Wait, start the car, wait, start the car, but wait." And he's screaming at me. There's a guy that's about 10 feet behind him and he's gaining and he's running after him. Now there's another guy that is about 30 feet behind him. He reaches for a gun. Now this guy takes the gun out and he's pointing it at us, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror and I'm waiting for a gunshot, and I hear like clap, clap, clap. And all of a sudden, I'm waiting for this thing to hit the window or like the car. This guy must have been a crappy shot because he didn't get any of the shots. He didn't hit anybody. Nobody got hit. The car didn't get hit. I'm waiting. I'm hearing more gunshots. And he's standing there now. The guy with the gun's just standing in the middle of the avenue and he's pointing at us. He's shooting. And this other guy is right behind him and he's running after him. Now, I was about to find out why this guy left the back window open. Apparently this was planned or something. He must have had some idea that his visit was gonna end this way, because suddenly he dives head first into the back window. Now his head is in the window. Now his top torso is in the car. His legs are hanging out. He's grabbing on for dear life to my headrest. And he's holding on to that and he's screaming, "Go, go, drive!" And I just floored it. I pulled out of the spot. I fishtailed out of the spot. I'm hearing pop, pop, pop. I'm hearing gunshots, and then I'm seeing the guy that was chasing him, that was closer, the closer guy, he's now like grabbing onto his ankle, and now he's getting pulled by the car, and we're driving. All of a sudden, I floored it hard enough that the guy holding his ankle lets go, and he's still running after the car now, but he can't catch us. We're instantly going like 50 miles an hour. This is like one of those old V8 Chevy Impalas. This thing had some gusto, so this thing like launches out of the parking spot, smoke everywhere. I'm hearing gunshots, and we're just driving, and this guy's hanging out. His legs are hanging out the window, and I'm like, what the just happened? So this guy is freaking out. He's going, "Don't stop, just drive, and he's climbing in the car, and he's pulling himself in the car. He finally goes head first, like into the back seat, like onto the floor, and he straightens himself out, and he buckles himself in the back seat, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And he's like just cursing and screaming. He's freaking out, and he's like, "You almost left me." And I go, "Dude, I didn't almost leave you, man." I go, "I was just starting the car. I was starting to pull out. I was hoping to get a start." And he's like, "Oh man, whatever, man." He goes, and then he goes, "That was good driving, man. I'm glad you got out of there. Thanks for getting us out of there." And it was a pretty quiet drive back to Brooklyn from the Bronx. But I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I'm gonna do this job anymore. We got back to the neighborhood, and I finally radio my dispatcher once we got back in a range. And he's like, "Hey buddy, you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You were gone a long time." And I said, "Long story, I'll tell you when I get back." And he goes, "Okay buddy," like that. And then I just dropped this guy off at his house, which was just a couple of blocks away from our taxi depot. And I pulled back into the taxi depot, walked in my boss's office, and I told him the story. And he said, "Are you gonna quit on me, buddy?" And I said, "I don't know, man, I gotta think about it." The next day I called him and I quit, and I just said, "I can't do this job, I'm sorry, man." I said, "I can't risk my life like this." I said, "If it were a daytime job, that'd be one thing," I said, "but I can't be doing this on the overnight and everything." And he understood, and I think I ended up working there like 3 months. But like I said, it wasn't a fun job, but it was exciting. And there were stories I'll never forget from that job. But I was toast. I was done. I never looked back, and I never walked back in that place ever again.